What's up, EV Clan? Alex Espion here, and welcome back to another video. Today we are playing Slither.io in 2025. In 2024, we played Slither.io. Just a little Slither.io in 2024 video because I thought it was interesting to see what the game was like in 2024, years after it was like originally popular, and now we are doing it again in 2025, just barely because I am recording this on New Year's Eve. So it is just barely 2025, and by the time this gets out, it will probably no longer be 2025, but regardless, I am playing, right now, currently, I am playing Slither.io in 2025, so that is great. So anyway, I was being encircled by that guy a little bit there, but he seems to have let me free. That's nice. This guy, I think I can cut off. Oh no, wait, he's dodging a little bit. He's a little feisty, but I got him. This guy, however, I think is encircling me fully now. Well, that other guy who was really big, that encircled me before, let go of me, so hopefully this guy also lets go of me instead of making the circle tighter and killing me, but I feel like he's not going to let go of me. I feel like he's far too big to just let that happen. I feel like he would have to get quite distracted in order for that to happen. So I'm gonna be stubborn and see if I can get out of the situation, but I don't know if I can, because he is, at this point, circled around me several times, I think. Me and this other guy are just chilling in here, seeing how long we can survive, I guess. He is boosting quite a lot. Wait. I can boost out. Okay, yes. He let us free. That was kind of stupid of him, but I guess he doesn't care about measly little morsels like us who barely will get him any length anyway. So, yeah, I guess he got distracted by something. Someone bigger probably attacking him that is so big that I can't even see them. They're, like, right next to us, but, like, I can't see them because they're that big that they're, like, taking up half the map. So, right next to me, them being right next to me is, like, them actually being, like, 5 of my lengths away from me, you know? But, like, from their perspective, it's right next to me because they're so big. They're like, oh, that tiny thing is right next to me. When you zoom down to my level, they're actually, like, at least 5 lengths away from me. But yeah, actually, I'm not seeing a lot of big guys. I expected once we went up this way, we'd find a lot more big guys because I feel like that's where the big guy that was, like, encircling me before was going. I feel like he was going up in this direction, but I'm not seeing any more big guys. I would have expected to see him or someone that he went to chase after, and that's why he left me alone. But hey, maybe he thought I just, like, finished myself off. Maybe he stopped trying to encircle me because he thought that his encirclement had already killed me, and he was good to, like, sop up the goodness of my little bits after I died because he thought I'd already died, and he didn't need to keep me encircled any longer. But I, in fact, was able to escape because he stopped encircling me, so that was good. You know, I haven't finished. I haven't caught up with Amazing Digital Circus recently. That's like, I want to, because obviously good series. I've talked about it before, but I currently have not watched episode 7 yet. Although I gotta say, episode 6, I hope I'm getting numbers right. Episode 6, I believe, was They All Get Guns, and then episode 7 is the new one. But yeah, episode 6 was really good. Episode 5 had me a little bit worried, because I thought that the quality was, I really didn't like episode 5 all that much. This guy's gonna kill me. This guy is really gonna kill me. Hold on. I might be able to trick him. He might do a sloppy encirclement here, and I might be able to, oh, wait. I might be able to cut him off. Okay, no, wait, I think I'm dead. I think I'm pretty dead here. Yeah, just, like, come in a little bit. If you want to come in a little bit, that'd be great, because then I might have a chance to kill you. Instead of you just killing me, but he seems to be just making the circle smaller and smaller, and I think this is the end for me. Yep. Okay. Eat up all my morsels. Go ahead. 822. Not bad for my first time back playing this game in a year. But yeah, I was a little bit concerned because, in my opinion, episode 4 was the worst episode of Amazing Digital Circus so far. And obviously I haven't watched episode 7 yet, so my ranking will change of the series, likely, unless it just gets added on to, like, the top or something. Well, the ranking has to change in some way, because either way, something is going to be affected, you know? It's gonna go either one up or one down, because it's either gonna be, like, I'm either gonna place it low on the ranking or high on the ranking, so then everything above it is gonna go, either way, everything above it is gonna go, up? No. Everything above it, yeah, everything above it is gonna go up. And then, wait, frick. Okay, I'm trying to think too much about this. That was a pitiful attempt. Okay, so everything above it is gonna go like up a ranking. Like it's still gonna be in first. Like the thing that's in first is still gonna be in first, but it's gonna be first over like more things, you know. And then obviously the stuff below it will be last by more, right? Like the thing that was in last place before in terms of like my favorite episode, my least favorite episode would be like no longer 6th best, but would be 7th best. It would be like 7th place because how many I'm ranking has changed, so therefore what is last place would have changed. So yeah, either way the ranking is going to change in some way when I watch episode 7, but so far my ranking of the episodes is that episode 4 is my least favorite, episode 5 is slightly above that, episode 3, no wait, okay, episode 1 is above episode 5, then episode 3 is above episode 1, episode 2 is above all of those, and then I think, honestly, episode 6 is kind of peak. I think episode 6 is my new favorite. Episode 2 was my favorite for a long while, but I think I do have to go with episode 6 as my favorite now, because it is just so funny. I think that there's just so much that's good about episode 6, genuinely. You have, like, the Daisy Bell thing that's, like, that's neat, with, like, the Daisy Bell duet with Pomni and Jax. That's really cute. It's cute and funny. And then, of course, Zooble coming out of the door and just blasting them all. Just shooting them up. Because she gets sick of that, and she's just, like, got all the guns on her arms now. Like, that's so cool. It's so funny. And then you also have, like, Jax's mental breakdown at the end, where he's just, like, staring in the mirror and self-loathing. Like, that's cool. I've talked about it before. Ass Out of You and Ming is hilarious, and I love how Ming wins best character at the end, and then he's like, "You assumed that you won the award, now we both look like fools." And then Kane's just like sitting there in the air as he does, just like staring. He's like, what is going on here? Like, they're just both on stage in silence staring at each other for a moment after he's like, "Now we both look like fools." It's really funny. And I think that obviously a bad episode of Amazing JoJo Circus comparatively to the other ones is still good content, you know? Like, Amazing JoJo Circus is just good. But if I had to do like a ranking, that is my ranking. But yeah, episode 2 was unparalleled in my ranking for a while. Like, it stayed on top for a very long time. Dang it. Okay, that guy encircled me. That guy got me good. Another 753, that's also up pretty high. At least in terms of how I usually do. That is up by the 800, but still haven't broken the 800 that I set before as my record. I feel like I've gotten worse at this game. Which, I mean, I guess... I don't know, I feel like, obviously I've gotten worse at it since my last attempt, which was a year ago, right? But, like, even considering, like, I don't think it's even that I'm, like, worse than my last attempt. I think it's that I'm, like, worse than when I started last time I made a video on this game, you know? Like, it's one thing to have to, like, unrust yourself, you know? Like, you're rusty, you have to shake off the rust, you have to get back into it. That's one thing, but I think that, like, genuinely, even before I shook off the rust last time I played this, last video I made on this, I was still doing a lot better than I am right now. So, like, it's not even like, oh, I need to de-rust here, I need to get back into the swing of things. It's like, before, when I already was, like, not in the swing of things last year, when I was getting back into it, I was doing better than I am right now. Even though I've had some practice games at this point, I'm still doing worse than my first game back last year, I feel. But anyway, obviously, bad Amazing JoJo Circus is still good content, but if I had to rank them, that would be what it is. Like, episode 4, despite the fact that it's my least favorite, is still a very good episode. I especially love the part where Gangle is, like, the music starts, like, Gangle leaves the job, and they're like in bliss, and they're like dancing in the streets or whatever, dancing like on the sidewalk or whatever, and then they just like fall into the streets, the music swells, then they get hit by a truck. Like, that's epic. The emotional impact of that was really good use of music to like amplify emotions and like get that and get across how she's feeling. Like, that was really good. I think that is genuinely one of the like most artsy, most thought put into it in terms of like music, the combination of music design and visuals. In terms of like the combination of music design and visuals, I think that is the most like, I think that is like the best Amazing Digital Circus scene. However, the fact of the matter is that is like the only redeeming part of the episode. I just think that the idea of them working at a restaurant is kind of lame comparatively to the other episode plots. Obviously really well done, as I said, because of like, obviously there are parts of it that are really well done, obviously, as I said, especially that a lot of people just die here, especially that ending where Gangle is like in utter bliss, and then they like just trip and fall into the street, and the music that was like before just blissful and happy and like exemplified like nighttime bliss, you know, like that feeling where it's like nighttime and you're just really thinking. Like, so you ever have that? Does anyone else feel that, where like at night they have just like thoughts, like they're just thinking really, they just think more with more depth than they do in the daytime? Does anyone else feel that? Like, nighttime thought just is more serene, or like more in depth. I feel like like once the sun sets, you kind of get into like a reflective mood sometimes. Like, I get that. I don't know if anyone else knows what I'm talking about, but Gangle, I feel like that was really exhibited well by Gangle's like, Gangle sort of like looking back at the day and then being like so happy that they're free from that job, and just like in utter bliss because they're out of it, and they're finally happy after a long day of like having to mask their sadness, and they're finally truly happy. And then just when they're finally truly happy, the music is happy, they are moving around happily and running around and dancing around in utter bliss. Just when they are finally happy after that long stressful day, bang, they trip right into the road, cars approaching, trucks approaching. All of a sudden that blissful, happy, almost mystical, serene midnight music just swells into absolute, just swells and combines with the roaring of the truck, and it's just, oh my gosh. It's so well done. It's really, really good. However, the fact of the matter is the episode plot is still boring, and just comparatively to the rest of Amazing Digital Circus, not boring. I feel like they do a good job of making working at a restaurant considerably not boring, but comparatively to the other episode plots, it is still kind of boring. I really did think, though, episode 2 was the best one for a very long time. After episode 6 came out, I started to, I don't know if it was after episode 6 came out or like right before it, but I was watching episode 3 back at that time, and then anyway, so I was watching episode 3 back around that time, and I think, and like, so during that time I started to think like, hey, maybe episode 3 might be my favorite instead of episode 2, because one thing that I really liked about episode 2 was, okay, first of all, it takes all the good things about the all the good things about the first episode and sort of like exemplifies them, like amplifies them. You have like the personalities established in the first episode, and then them like playing with them more, and I think that something really cool came out of that, where they established these personalities that these characters have in the first episode, and now they're really starting to play with them, and all of them are used, you know? It's a perfect combination of everyone put together, and seeing those personalities just play with each other. Which I think that episode 1 was the start of that, like, the start of, like, getting those personalities established, but then episode 2, they really had a chance to, like, play with those personalities all together, because other episodes, you see them, like, separated, you know? But, the combination in episode 2 of, like, all the characters together all of their energy playing off of each other, all those established personalities from the first episode, and that combined with the awesome world building, the cool plot of that adventure with the alligator, Gummy Goo, which has like an existential crisis at the end, and he's trying to like get syrup to cure his mom of some illness. Like, it actually has some solid story to it, like even in universe in terms of the adventure itself, with like the backstory of the thieves of the evil alligator, like Gummy Goo. His backstory in and of itself is really interesting, even if it is just like a meaningless backstory that Kane put together in order to make an adventure. Like, even that is even that is interesting. And then the fact that they make his character even more interesting by giving him like an actual personality outside of what Kane gave him, and him having like an existential crisis, realizing that he's not real, and then Pomni helping him cope with that. It's just like, oh my gosh, there is so much to that character, and for no reason, because he just gets freaking destroyed at the end. Kane just snaps his fingers and then he explodes into confetti. But like, such a good character, such a well put together character, with so much emotional depth for something for a character that will just like be gone by the end of the episode. And on top of Gummy Goo just being a great character, obviously you have all the pre-established characters from the previous episode 1, like all the main characters of the Digital Circus with their personalities that were established in episode 1. They're playing with those, and we're getting to see those all playing together, and just them on an adventure. You know, on an adventure, they're on an interesting adventure in an interesting world, and they have their interesting personalities that were established in the first episode, and it's working off of that, and it's just really magical. Like, it's really good. You get to see, in that one episode, you get to see, like, Kinger being an idiot, and then you see his moment of clarity when he's in the dark, which we like realize is a thing in the third episode that he has, you know. In the third episode, he explains that, like, when he's in the dark, he thinks clearly, which makes that moment in episode 2 where his head is in a bucket and he's remembering how Ragatha was when she first ended up in the circus. It makes that moment make sense, because that was him having a moment of clarity with thought, because he had a bucket over his head and it was all darkness, you know? Like, you get to see that aspect of his character. You also get to see the dumb aspect of his character. You get to see Gangle's anxiousness as Jax threatens her with the figurine thing. You get to see Jax being, of course, Jax, just being obnoxious and an absolute jerk. You get to see Pomni being her classic nervous self, but also starting to come into her own a little bit. By the end of the episode, you obviously have her, like, not having a mental breakdown like she did in the first one, and that shows, like, character growth. You have Ragatha, again, trying to be, like, a positive force and, like, a role model to Pomni, and it not necessarily working all that well, but it's not, like, the fallout yet that happens, like, later on in the series, obviously, where, like, Ragatha thinks that she's losing Pomni completely. It's just kind of the start of that, you know? Like, Pomni is starting to like Ragatha, but she's not, like, looking to Ragatha specifically as a role model, as Ragatha sort of assumes that she would. So I think that's interesting, like, the start of that dynamic as well, where Ragatha's trying to be a role model to Pomni, and Pomni doesn't really need it. Pomni would rather hang out with, like, other people, you know, that we see. Obviously, Ragatha is trying to, like, cheer up Pomni, like, get her hyped. Obviously, Pomni's like, you don't have to talk to me like I'm a child in episode 2. It's just like, look, Pomni, we just got here and we already met the princess. We're already friends with the princess. She's like, I'm not a child. You don't have to hype me up, you know? Like, you see that, like, start of a dynamic where Ragatha's trying to be, like, happy and friendly and serve as a role model to Pomni, sort of help her out, but Pomni's just not along with, like, going along with that, you know? And, like, it's not like it was in episode 1, where she's, like, actively refusing Ragatha because, she's not actively refusing Ragatha because she's, like, scared of where she is now and she's adjusting to her new space, like in episode 1. In this episode, obviously, it starts out like that, where she's just, like, too traumatized and stuff to, actually, whoa, I almost died there. Where it starts out like that at the beginning of episode 2, where she's, like, too traumatized and stuff, and she doesn't know what's happening, which she's, like, sort of out of it because she's still traumatized from, like, the events of the first episode. You know, she's like, what time period is this? And, like, I'm not a child, you don't have to hype me up. Like, she starts the episode like that, but by the end it is more of a, like, not shutting Ragatha down completely, because she realizes that Ragatha's trying. Obviously, she has that moment with Ragatha at the end where she's like, thanks for trying to help Ragatha. But in the end, like, she doesn't look to Ragatha for guidance, and that's not really her starting to. It's just kind of like, thank you for trying. But episode 2, we really get the first introduction to that dynamic of, like, she appreciates what Ragatha's doing, however, she would rather interact with other people, and she doesn't look at Ragatha like the role model that Ragatha expects her to. So we have the introduction of that dynamic between Ragatha and Pomni. We have, of course, reinforcing Ragatha's protectiveness and want to help and engage Pomni. We have Jax, of course, being a jerk and obnoxious in a way that is, like, funny and interesting. We have Gangle's nervousness being reinforced and put in full spotlight for that moment in the truck when they're driving, and Jax is just absolutely harassing her. We have Kinger being an idiot in the funny way that we've come to expect from the series. We have, of course, his moment of clarity when he's in the dark, emblematic of a reveal that will happen in the next episode. And of course, the jokes are good. The Fudge Monster, who is just like, is it really murder if it's delicious? It's like, that's really funny. Of course, we have the trope of Gangle's mask being broken every episode established. Like, there are just so many good things about that episode. Episode 2, for a while, in my opinion, was really just peak because we have all those personalities to play with, all in one episode, rather than just, like, episode 3 being mostly focused on Kinger and episode 4 being mostly focused on Gangle. Like, it's sort of playing with all the personalities, really getting the best of all worlds, the best of all the characters, and really bringing out the personalities that it introduced in episode 1, and I think that is why, for a while, episode 2 was the best, was my favorite. But at this point, I think that episode 6 actually does a better job of using the personalities that have been established and really, like, putting all the characters together into one situation. Because episode 6, unlike episode 2, actually has Zooble. You know, like, episode 2, Zooble obviously stayed out of the adventure as they tend to. Which means that while we got to see everyone else's personalities interacting, for the most part, Zooble was absent, as they usually are and have been for most of the episodes thus far. This guy might encircle me. No, he will not. No, he will not. No, he will. Okay, he will. Okay, well, let's just hope he lets me free. That would be great. His name is RCU Little B the Based God. That's interesting. My name is Alex. Nice to meet you. Compare his, like, weird-ass name, weird-ass, long-ass name to my perfectly normal name. Like, this is... Okay, well, there we go. I'm dead. How much longer we got in this episode? How much have I recorded so far? I've recorded, 23 minutes of footage. Okay, I could go for another round. Let's do another round. 53,000. That was really good that time. I don't think this round I'm gonna get higher than that, but, I might. We'll see. But yeah, episode 4 into episode 5, as I said, those are my 2 least favorites. And while I think that episode 5 had that same thing of episode 6, where all the characters are together, and their personalities are all in one place, and it's just like, sort of playing off of those personalities that have been established, I don't think that episode 5 does it nearly as well as episode 6 does, because I think that sort of the, I personally find the switching between different adventures that are, like, all wildly different to be jarring, in a way. I feel like it's an episode that is more so a use of previously unused ideas that they didn't really know what to do with, rather than an actual, like, standalone episode that is, like, part of the series, you know? I know I said standalone and part of the series in describing the same episode. I hope you know what I mean. It's not like, it doesn't feel like it's furthering the plot of the overall series. That, okay, well, I guess I'll do another round then, because that one was really short. In my opinion, episode 5 just didn't feel like it was, like, furthering the overall plot of the series. It was instead just kind of like Super Mario Galaxy 2 to Super Mario Galaxy, you know? Like, Super Mario Galaxy 2 was just Super Mario Galaxy again, but they used all the unused ideas for the first one. That just felt like what Episode 5 was. To me, that just felt like what Episode 5 was. Where it's just like all the ideas they had for episodes 1 through 4 that they still don't know what to do with, and they don't really have any plans to use. They just like shoved in there and tried to make a cohesive plot out of it, and it really felt very messy and incoherent to me. And the theming to me felt lacking, whereas I think that Episode 2 and Episode 6, while they also have that all those characters together and play off all their personalities instead of focusing on one character, which I think is really good. But unlike Episode 5, they are actually like focused on one specific theme, with like the Candyland fantasy world in Episode 2 and the shooting game in the shooting game that Amazing Joe Circus has become in Episode 6. See, I think that Episode 5 has that, like all the characters together in one place, and they're playing off their personalities in a way that is really cool to see, like Episode 2 and Episode 6 does. But Episode 5, the issue is that there's just nothing to, like, bring it together. You know, there's no, like, solid theming that unites it all. And I feel like that's what's missing. It has all those characters playing off of each other, and certainly their personalities are great. Their personalities all playing off of each other make for great energy and interesting character dynamics and whatever. But it is just missing that thing that gives it coherence, that unites it as one complete story with actual, like, prominent, consistent theming to it. See, that's my problem with Episode 5. However, I still think it's not as bad as Episode 4, because Episode 4 is focused on Gangle, which is not a big problem, but the fact that it's focused on Gangle, which is only one character, makes it instantly, in my mind, worse than the ones that like have all the characters sort of playing off each other and sort of split focus between all these interesting characters. Because those episodes are so cool, where where it's like all the characters together interacting with each other and playing off of each other's dynamics. Those episodes are so cool because like every character in Amazing Joe Circus is just really well made, and they have like a good characterization to them. They're just all really interesting characters, so I personally enjoy it much more when they're all together and they have all those dynamics playing off of each other. So in my opinion, like, obviously the fact that it's pretty much centered around Gangle rather than like, and like the rest of the group is sort of taking a back seat in terms of like their personalities being exhibited, is that's why I personally already am ranking Episode 4 pretty low. And then that combined with the fact that they're working at a restaurant, and that's not the most creative plot when compared to a haunted mansion, a fantasy Candyland world, a queen of shaped creatures who wants to turn everything into her offspring. Like, comparatively to other episode plots, it is definitely the one that is just like, eh. Like, it's good, they do it well, they mix it up. It's not your typical restaurant, but it is also just still a restaurant, and it just kind of just fits into your typical idea of a restaurant tycoon type of game. And while I know that the shooting like they all get guns episode just fits into your typical like shooting game type of idea, I think personally that restaurant games are a lot more interesting than shooting games. That's just a personal, other way around. I think that shooting games are a lot more interesting to watch than restaurant games, personally. It's not like I play shooting games, but if I had to pick between like which is the better thing to watch, especially like if you're making an actual like series out of it, like it's not a real game, it's just like a series about a video game, I feel like a shooting game just makes for a more interesting, more intense, more on the edge of your seat type of plot than working in a restaurant, you know? And I get that they tried to make the restaurant thing their own, and they did some interesting things with it. They did some interesting things with that sort of theming. But it's still not as cool as all your favorite characters that you've come to love by this point in the series walking around, having like a battle royale, split up into teams, just like using different strategies in order to take each other down. Like, it's really cool. Episode 6 basically has basically, to me, is like episode 2 in the way that it, like, unites all those characters and plays with all those dynamics and puts them all in a world of consistent theming. But the fact that it's in-house, it's an in-house adventure, as they call it in the series, and it's using the circus itself, which we haven't seen much of yet, and the fact that it's, like, way more intense than episode 2, I think does make it my favorite. Plus, oh my gosh, I'm right behind you, aren't I? So funny. It is so funny. I'm right behind you, aren't I? It's just like Kinger's just hiding in the hole, and it's the inverse of the classic, like, he's right behind me, isn't he? I'm right behind you, aren't I? That is such a Kinger line. I love it so much. And that, honestly, makes a 4.5 star episode a 5-star episode, in my opinion. That puts it up by a whole half a star. It's just that good. It is such a funny joke. So that, combined with Jax's mental breakdown at the end, combined with the use of all these characters' personalities that they play off of, and Kane's mental breakdown during it, Kane's hilarious joke of just like, fine, have guns, I don't care. Then Zubal's like, that's it? Have guns? Have fun? I didn't say have fun. It just seems a bit aimless. Use the sights. It's it is really funny. It's just a really funny episode. It's a really funny, well-written episode that plays off of all the characters very well and puts them all to good use. So it just in that way does what episode 2 does again, but this time kind of better because it's even funnier and more intense. So, yeah, episode 6, I really didn't think that episode 2 was going to be dethroned in my headcanon of what is the best episode anytime soon, because obviously, for episode 3, in the face of episode 3, episode 4, episode 5, episode 2 continues to be my favorite. So I really didn't think that they were going to beat episode 2 anytime soon, but episode 6 kinda, the more I think about it, it's going up in the ranking, and I think at this point it might be better than episode 2 in my mind. I think it might be my new favorite. So that, obviously, after episode 4 and episode 5, which in my opinion are the two worst episodes, I was worried about where the series was going. I was worried about if it was gonna like sort of fall into being comparatively to the rest of the episodes. Obviously, it was never gonna be bad because it's Amazing Digital Circus, but I thought for a second that it was gonna become meh. But episode 6 kinda got rid of my worries on that, and so now I'm really excited for episode 7. Whereas if you had asked me, how do you feel about the next episode with episode 5, after episode 5, if you would ask me, how do you feel about the next episode with that one, I would have said, yeah, I'm not feeling too optimistic. But it turns out that episode 6 was really good, so now, how do I feel about the next episode after episode 6? I'd say I'm very excited, and it's out, I gotta see it, and I'll talk to y'all, I guess, about how I feel about it, when I see it. So, thank you all so much for watching EV Clem. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Happy New Year. I'm sure it already happened by the time this is up, but Happy New Year, and I'll see you all in the next one. This is Alex Espion, signing off.